During the construction of the world's deepest diving pool in Dubai, when a 45-meter tunnel was dug into the ground, a unique problem blocked the engineering team's way. It was found out that in Poland, a diving pool named Deep Spot had opened, whose depth was also 45 meters. Now, obviously, if Dubai wanted the world record for the deepest pool, then they had to extend its depth from 45 meters to 60 meters. But this task, as easy as it sounded, was equally difficult to execute. Experts calculated that if the pool's depth was increased to 60 meters, then groundwater pressure could very easily push it upward. This is exactly like when a filled water bottle is thrown into a pond. It stays on the surface because, due to buoyancy force, the pond water pushes the bottle upward from below, meaning the entire pool could rise from the ground at any time. At this point in construction, the dream of building Dubai's deepest pool seemed to be collapsing. But then, one idea changed everything. So, fellow, welcome back to another amazing episode on IamCivilEngineer.com. You know what? When it comes to making world records, the first name that comes to mind is Dubai. With 425 Guinness World Records, Dubai is still #1 in the entire Middle East, and it feels as if Dubai's rulers don't want to lose this number at any cost. To this library of world records, one more addition was made on the request of Dubai's prince, Sheikh Hamdan bin Rashid Al Maktoum. This is what the world today knows as Deep Dive Dubai. Deep Dive Dubai is not just a pool, but rather a strange and wonderful world. With a depth of 197 feet or 60 meters, this is the deepest pool in the world, containing about 14 million liters of water. That's as much as 6 Olympic swimming pools, or the amount 90,000 people would use in a whole day. This pool is themed as a sunken city, where divers get an experience that was previously impossible even to imagine. To keep the pool's water clean, with NASA's help, a system was built that filters all 14 million liters every 6 hours. Whether the outside temperature is 50 degrees C or 20 degrees C, the pool's water is always maintained at 30 degrees C for divers' comfort. But here, we are more interested in the construction techniques of Deep Dive Dubai than in its features, because the engineering community believes Dubai's deepest pool is nothing short of an engineering miracle. What difficulties did engineers face during the construction of Dubai's deepest pool? Without wasting time, let's take a look. The very first challenge was planning and design. Crown Prince Sheikh Hamdan wanted a design that could show a glimpse of Dubai's cultural values. Before oil and tourism, pearl diving was a big profession in Dubai. Professional divers used to jump into the open sea without scuba gear, find seashells, and sell the pearls from them. A large part of Dubai's economy once depended on pearl diving. Keeping this idea in mind, Deep Dive was given the shape of a seashell, one that, from a distance, looks like an open shell on the seashore. But that was just the outer facade. The decision now was how to build inside it the world's deepest diving pool. Architects and engineers were called from around the world to give realistic ideas for this project. The simplest way was to build a strong 45-meter-high building and fill it with water. But there was one issue with this idea. Yes, the pool would become 45 meters deep, but the condition for making a world record was that the pool must not be above ground, but below it. The second issue was that Dubai is a very hot city. If the pool was built above ground in a building, then the external heat could affect the pool's environment. Crown Prince of Dubai wanted a pool about which not only the design, but also its depth would become the talk of the world. That's when it was decided that the world's deepest diving pool would be dug underground. A shaft would be dug into the ground, not horizontally, but vertically. And this was the beginning of a new challenge: excavation. The challenge for the engineering team was to dig such a shaft that would be 65 feet wide and 147 feet deep, not only to dig this shaft, but also build a wall around its border to prevent it from collapsing. In engineering terms, this wall is called a diaphragm wall. To complete this work, a special excavator was brought in. With the help of this machine, a pillar-wide trench was dug to a depth of 147 feet. Then, a steel cage was placed inside it and filled with concrete. And in the same way, in small chunks, the entire diaphragm wall was constructed. This whole process took more than 2 months. After this excavation work began, the plan was to dig 5 meters at a time until reaching 45 meters where the diaphragm wall existed. But after only the first 5 meters of excavation, a new challenge was waiting for them: dealing with groundwater. When excavation began after constructing the diaphragm wall, groundwater appeared after just 8 meters. And because the diaphragm wall was made in chunks, small gaps remained in it through which groundwater easily seeped into the tunnel and started collecting. Without managing groundwater, it was impossible to continue excavation. To deal with this issue, pumps were installed that continuously drained the water out while excavation went on side by side. For the next 2 years, excavation continued, and during this entire period, the pumps also kept running non-stop. For Deep Dive Dubai, over 45,000 tons of soil, sand, and rock debris was excavated and removed. After excavation, when the pumps were turned off, water began filling the tunnel again. In this situation, it was necessary first to make the diaphragm wall properly waterproof. Over the next several months, waterproofing of the diaphragm wall was carried out, and only then were the pumps finally shut down. Constructing the diaphragm wall, excavation of the tunnel, and waterproofing it from groundwater together took more than 3 years. By this time, the engineering team was already quite delayed. Every single day was precious. And at that moment came the news that near Warsaw, the capital of Poland, a deep diving pool named Deep Spot had opened and whose depth was also 45 meters. This news struck like lightning on the entire deep dive project team, because all the hard work they had done so far was mainly for creating a world record. Normally, projects like this keep most of their details secret, and the same happened in this case. When Dubai's crown prince learned of this, he requested that Deep Dive's depth should be increased further so the world record could still be claimed easily. But here was the problem. Just 8 meters below the ground surface, groundwater was present, and it extended all the way down to 45 meters, meaning this groundwater would push upward from below the entire pool. This force is also called buoyancy force. Engineers had already calculated how to cancel this force with the water that would be filled inside the pool. And those calculations were made considering a depth of 45 meters. But if the pool's depth was increased by another 15 meters, obviously the buoyancy force would increase further. And it was highly possible that the pool, along with the entire diaphragm wall, could be pushed out of the ground. Because of this problem, the entire construction work came to a halt. It was extremely urgent to find a solution as quickly as possible. After a lot of research, finally, a solution was found. First, an extra 15 meters of excavation would be done in the tunnel, but the diameter of these extra 15 meters would almost be half of the first 45 meters diameter. This way, the area exposed to buoyancy force would be reduced. Second, an underreaming base would be built beneath the tunnel. Underreaming is a technique in which an anchor-like structure is driven deep into the ground under the foundation. Just like an anchor holds a ship in place, underreaming keeps the entire structure tightly fixed to the ground. With this method, Deep Dive Dubai's depth was extended from 45 meters to 60 meters, and once again the project became eligible for the Guinness Book World Record, but the problems were still not over. As days were passing, it was risky to keep a 60-meter deep tunnel empty without water, because canceling the buoyancy force was only possible through the water that would be filled inside the pool. If it was left empty for too long, the entire structure could be pushed upward by groundwater. Now came the turn to fill it with 14 million liters of water. But the issue was that Dubai's water supply authority could provide only limited water, and if filled at that speed, it would take 3 months to fill the pool. To meet the deadline and complete the work faster, along with Dubai Water Authority's supply, more than 100 water tankers were also brought in. The massive scale of deep dive can be understood by the fact that even with all these arrangements, it still took a full month to fill the pool. Here, let us also tell you that before filling the water, the theme of a sunken city was created inside the pool. and only afterward was the water filled. After filling, many new challenges appeared. For example, some materials started rusting, and some items began floating in the water. To fix this, holes were drilled into those items and extra weight was added so they would not float. After all the finishing work, in 2021, Deep Dive Dubai was first opened to special guests, and then in 2022, it was open to the public. The expenses of Deep Dive Dubai have still been kept secret by the Dubai government because, in their view, this project is priceless. What is your opinion about this? Let me know in the comments section. I hope you will like and share this video from IamCivilEngineer.com, and I'll meet again in the next amazing video.